Hello and welcome to another episode of My Top 5. So, in this episode, it's going to be sci-fi films. And always fun putting these top 5s together. Again, same format I think I might have gone through before, where I just, off the top of my head, think up a top 5 I want to do, on the spot, come up with the top 5 for whatever area I've chosen, be it sci-fi films in this case, or live albums like I did the week before, or sometime in the future it's probably going to be favourite books of a certain genre, those sort of things. And then I spend the morning sort of mulling it over in terms of just thinking of honourable mentions, and then seeing if the one or two honourable mentions that I've thought of end up trumping and swapping around with something that's in the top 5, and then I just shoot the video. Normally against the backdrop of Wikipedia, because it's jogs my memory as I'm telling the stories. As is the case with most of these episodes, I'm not going to go into some academic analysis of the list. It is purely me trying to place things in time against a historical background, both in terms of when whatever I'm talking about came out, but also in terms of when I first experienced it and the circumstances surrounding that, and just see where that story takes me. So completely unscripted, as a lot of my stuff is. But interesting rabbit holes to go down. I've put these for the top 5 in chronological order, just the order in which they were released at the cinema, just for ease of cataloguing. I'll mention which one I would have made my number 1, because there is one in here that is definitely my all-time favourite sci-fi film. And no doubt if you were to ask me, a year from now, then the honourable mentions might move up the list a bit and displace something on the top 5, but I don't think anything would ever displace that number 1, which I'll come to. So, oldest film on the list is Forbidden Planet. Excellent sci-fi film. First saw this on UK TV, because I wouldn't have seen it when it came out. I'm not that old, 1956, that's before I was born. Loved it for lots of different reasons. You've got Walter Pidgeon, who plays Morbius? Yeah, Morbius. But it's because it's based on The Tempest, that's the Prospero character. You've got a young Leslie Nielsen as the hero of the piece, and Anne Francis in here as well. So that will be Walter Pidgeon's daughter Morbius's daughter. Altera, I think it is, that's how you pronounce it. Robbie the Robot, first appearance. If you've ever seen the original, was it Space Family Robinson? Was it Lost in Space, I think it was called? He reappeared in that. And he's made subsequent appearances in various science fiction movies and TV programs. Now, also there's excellent, the monster in this, which is the monster from the id. And if you've not seen the film, I'm not going to spoil the story by explaining exactly where the monster comes from. But I think the monster's really well done in terms of how they do the special effects for that. Very cleverly done, actually. So that's my first in my top 5 sci-fi is Forbidden Planet. It originally came out in 1956. And like I said, saw it on UK TV. I do have a copy of this, which I bought probably in the last 10 years on DVD. And I've obviously rewatched it since buying that, and still great film. Next up chronologically, Star Wars. and I've decided to go with the first one. I mean, there's always that debate as to whether the Empire Strikes Back is a better film. It's certainly a darker film, but as this was the first one out, and for me seeing it for the first time, not knowing that there were going to be sequels to it, it is a nicely, in my eyes at the time, like a self-contained film. And I would have seen, this came out in 1977. I don't think I saw it actually at the point it came out, but I certainly saw it before Empire Strikes Back, which was 1980. So this had a number of sort of theatrical reruns before the follow-up film came out. So I'm wondering if I saw it in either 1978 or 1979, but I definitely saw it at the cinema at the time, and obviously it was super impressive. And then subsequently on TV, and I bought this. There's been multiple iterations of this film, even before. So of course, a lot of these films were re-released as special editions. Well, all the films were re-released as special editions with added bonus stuff and various other things. I think in addition to the copies I now have on DVD, which would be the one with all the bonus materials and the extensions in them and the CGI that's been added in, the versions I've got have, I've got access to both the original sort of unaltered version and the modified version. But prior to having the DVD, I think I ended up buying 2 copies of the VHS. The VHS, all 3 from the first trilogy, in their original theatrical form, which subsequently wore out for me just watching them over and over and over again on tape. And then the set that came out, I think the first time they did the special editions, which were in this sort of, I think, box with, was it Darth Vader's head on it? Something like that. Somewhere around there still on VHS. So there was definitely some versions that came out on VHS which were special editions. So I remember buying those and then rebuying them again on DVD. But those VHS copies have long gone because I watched them so many times, and then they got superseded by my DVD copies. But yeah, originally watched this around 78, 79, and just over and over and over again since then. And as I've mentioned, I would have seen, all the others following on from that at the cinema: Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, then the sort of prequel trilogies, and then the ones after it. One of my favourite ones in the whole canon is Rogue One. I love that film. I think it's great. Next choice, Alien. So, yeah, interesting story about watching this, to do with technology. So this came out in 1979. Now, I didn't see it at the cinema when it came out. I'm assuming this was an 18 when it came out in the UK. So wouldn't have been able to see it then unless I snuck in, I suppose, because I would have been under 18 at that point. But what happened was, later, so probably around about, I would say at a rough guess, it must have been between 84 to 85. I'm unsure when this actually came out on home video. Let's check. Actually, we can check here. Does it have a particular date? don't know if it mentions here. It's interesting, it doesn't say. Yeah. I don't see a date here mentioning the first time it came out on VHS. But here's where it gets interesting. So we had like a local video store over the top of the a local church hall, and this would have been in Forest Row. And a friend of mine, his eldest brother, actually was a partner in that video rental store, and we used to get round 84, 85 when we first started renting videos. That's where we used to get our videos from. But what happened was also, after I'd been down the pub, I used to often go around people's houses afterwards. And I remember being invited round a friend of a friend's house to watch Alien on early Laserdisc. So when did this come out? This format, 78. So yeah, it was after that. But they had a copy of Alien on Laserdisc, from what I remember. Or their parents did. And that was pretty awesome, watching Alien on Laserdisc. Yeah, so you can see it a lot bigger if you're not familiar with the format. I think these are still available. But that was the first commercial optical disc storage medium. So it offers very high quality. Obviously, you can freeze frame it as well for all the gory bits, if you want to do that. Yeah. So my first time I saw this was on that format, and then subsequently, obviously, rented it probably multiple times, and then eventually probably bought it. Well, I bought it multiple times because I had copies of Alien and Aliens on VHS. This is obviously a great film. And the other thing here, when I've tried to avoid in my top 5 list, is picking 2 films from the same franchise as well. And as with Star Wars, I might flip-flop between, say, Alien and Aliens. This is more action-packed, but the original is more scary, I think. More suspense in the original. And I think I've seen all of these, and the crossovers, and the prequel series. I think there's one or two of the Predator films I've not seen. But I'm pretty sure I've seen all the Alien Predator films. I don't know if there's much more to add on the story behind that, certainly in terms of seeing it. But I then went on to buy the quadrilogy on DVD, and I've also there's quite a nice book I have, like a coffee table book that came out in the last 10 years about the film. So I have a copy of that as well. So on to my favourite sci-fi film of all time, Blade Runner. So I would have first watched this on a rental VHS from the video store I mentioned that was over the top of the local parish or the local village hall. And how I found about this time is anybody that remembers renting videos or still gets access to rental copies of videos or DVDs will probably remember that they used to have like marketing for upcoming releases. And so at some point, so this would again have been probably sometime between 84 to 86 maybe, we used to get like 2 or 3 videos out every weekend to watch, mixture of all sorts of things. At the time, me and my brothers were probably watching a lot of horror, and and sci-fi. So this was advertised on, as a run into another film. I can't remember what. I'm just trying to think what else would have been out of that time, because now I'm sitting here, I've just thought of another honourable mention, which would be Escape from New York. Yeah, damn. Anyway, so I remember seeing that and then getting the film out and just being blown away by the just the way the film looked, and the performance of like Rutger Hauer in this is just fantastic as Roy Batty, and the whole storyline just really engaged me. There's a really cool, I suppose you could call it, companion book about the making of the film, and it's upstairs. Unfortunately, I can't remember what it's called. Such is my my memory sometimes. But yeah, it's I think on the cover it's got Harrison Ford's character Decker hanging off the building, I think. It's definitely got like a black cover with that image on it. But the whole thing, the thing I really found fascinating was that initial bit in the film where he's doing that, like almost like a psychological, well, he's not doing it, but he's watching a video of someone doing a psychological evaluation on one of the replicants in it. And I thought that was really cool, that piece of equipment that they used in there, which I'm trying to remember. Has it got the plot here? Without ruining it, if you've seen it. No, it doesn't really go through the plot line. But that bit, and I just have... Oh, there we go. The Voigtkampf, that's it, the Voigtkampf machine. I thought that was really cool. And these spinners as well, the cars, the flying cars. Yeah, I mean, just the whole look of it as well, when he's sitting down and having the meal at the that's sort of on the street, I think you know the one I mean, where he's having what looks like a sort of Chinese meal, and all the different scenarios as the various characters in the film like move around. I think that's really, really clever, the way there's like multiple, not so much timelines, but as the characters sort of come together at the end, Decker and Roy, almost like they're the path of the story that that they follow through to that final sort of confrontation, and then what subsequently happens. I just really like the way that that was put together. I've seen all the different versions as well. The first one I did see would have been the version with the voiceover, but I've seen it without it. It was always interesting when they showed it on the BBC. Like, there was a version I saw on the BBC, which I'm not sure what print it was. It wasn't the director's cut, but that one had the ending slightly changed from the original one I saw. So I'm assuming it was one of those, what are they called, like the sneak peek ones. Somewhere down here it does list all the different versions, because there's a theatrical release. There's two versions of those, and then there's a what's that? The international cut as well. This sort of domestic cut. So yeah, there's a lot out there. And again, I've got the metal box set, not the really nice attaché case thing, but they did bring, I think around the same time they released this Final Cut 2007, they brought out like a tin with all the different main cuts in it as well. So I've got that and watched all the different combinations. I've also got a version of this in a flippy disc. You know what I mean? Like a DVD where it's there's different versions on either side of the disc, and one version has like a theatrical release, and the other version has a different version of it without the voiceover. So I've got that as well, like from quite a whiles back. And I don't own many of those flippy discs, but yeah, that was an interesting idea. They tend to now, if they've got multiple different editions of things, they tend to print them on multiple DVDs. But that was a thing for a while, where you had this thing where you had like two versions of the film, one on either side. District 9, yeah, saw this on DVD. Great film. Yeah, if you've not seen this, really enjoyable. I watched it again the other day. Produced by Peter Jackson. So there's a connection there to obviously Lord of the Rings and all the other films that he's been involved with. Directed by Neil Blomkamp. And I was looking the other day because I was trying to remember that other film he'd done more recently. Where's his... Oh, that was it, Chappy. I really loved that. Yeah, no, it was Chappy. So, yeah, I've never seen it at the cinema. It would be fantastic to actually see this at the cinema. My wife really likes this film as well. It's one of her favourite sci-fis. She was really impressed by this, actually. And then some honourable mentions. I was going to mention something else, and I'm just trying to think whether it's going to come up with the honourable mentions or whether I should mention it now. Oh no, actually, yeah, it does. I'm trying to think where it was going to tie in, but it's going to tie in with this one. So, honourable mentions: Terminator, original Terminator film. This was when I nearly saw this. Not whenever it came out on the home media release. So that was in 85. So in 85 when it came out, some friends of mine were going to watch it after, I think we'd all been down the pub on New Year's Eve, but I was pretty wasted, and so I decided not to walk all the way back. I think it was about a couple of mile walk, which normally wouldn't have been any problem, but I didn't want to be staggering all over the place, so I decided to bow out gracefully, and ended up renting it a couple of weeks later from the local video store. Sometime in 85. Yeah, so I think again it's probably like 85, 86 I saw this. Another film where I've bought, probably rebought this on different formats a number of times. Obviously, again, and as you can see, there's a pattern here. Like, there's this sort of balance between, is the first film of the series better than the second film? But, there's slightly different quantities. Same was true when I was talking about Alien and Aliens, and then Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back, and same with the Terminator, and the follow-up with the second film. I'm just trying to think whether it goes through the subsequent. because there's been some pretty dire ones in the series. Let's have a look at the Terminator franchise. I'm just curious as to where they are. So Terminator 2 Judgment Day. That's the bit I was trying to remember after it. Judgment Day. 91 that came out. I don't think I've seen Dark Fate. I know I've seen Rise of the Machines. I think all of these I may have seen it. These three, definitely seen these at the cinema. This one probably saw it on a plane somewhere. So yeah, great film. I'll have to check out this one. I haven't seen that yet. I'm assuming it's streaming somewhere. Yeah, there's also a connection, as there is, like Michael Biehn was in Aliens in that, and he plays a great part in this. Yeah, great story. I really like the soundtrack to this as well. I actually bought the soundtrack. There's some cool things in that, and also there's a couple of in addition to the sort of thematic elements of the soundtrack, almost like orchestral. There's also a couple of songs on there as well. I think both of which were played when Sarah Connor, which is Linda Hamilton's character, sort of takes refuge in that nightclub. If anybody's seen the film, remember that bit. The music that's playing in there is on the soundtrack. Very much of its time, and definitely very 80s feel. So that's an honourable mention. But it was cool at the time because Schwarzenegger was just so prevalent. The amount of like films he had out, like Conan the Destroyer, original Conan, and the Terminator stuff, and then was it Raw Deal, Commando. I'm trying to think of that other sci-fi, Running Man, and then so that was a lot of very enjoyable films that he created or was involved with at that time. Somewhere clearly his tongue was in his cheek more than others, but good film. And then finally, another honourable mention, Ex Machina. I saw this on the plane. I can't remember which. Well, it probably was either flying from here to Toronto or from here to the UK. Great film. Yeah, definitely. If you've not seen this, watch it. It was on Tubi recently, and also on one of the other free streaming services, the ones you can get through the library. Both of which escape me. But anybody that uses the library services a lot will probably be aware that a lot of libraries provide the service, and you can sort of rent, up to, I think about, was it 4 videos a month through them. And definitely had been on there. So I watched it on there, and it had definitely cropped up on Tubi. Although the trouble with Tubi is you've got to put up with ads every 15 minutes. I'd love to see this, just to see what it looks like on the big screen. I mean, it's a pretty intimate setting, so there's nothing to see in terms of huge spaceships or anything like that, but I just would love to see what it looks like. The bit I was trying to remember, I wanted to mention a little bit about Alex Garland. He's been involved with a number of films in different capacities. The first time I became aware of him was when I watched Sunshine, and I just wanted to bring this up because remember back when I saw this was as a result of me renting a video off of Amazon. So this would have been what went on to be, you know, a variation on Netflix back before Netflix was on the was streaming service, and the companies involved at that point were sending out DVDs through the post. And I was in the UK at that point when Sunshine came out. So that was 2 years before I moved out here. And DVD rental through the post in the UK was great because the turnaround was fantastic. And so I did it for about a year, I think, and saw a load of great films. I think that, you know, the choice of films would be fantastic because they pretty much offered, you know, I wouldn't say everything, but I saw some great old films and some stuff from Sundance as well, that now you'd either have to sign up to the Sundance streaming service or have to wait until the certain films appear through streaming. But yeah, that was a great service back then, sort of DVDs through the mail. And I really like this film as well. This version of Judge Dredd. Super violent, but yeah. And I've got another funny story about the original version of Dredd as well, which I won't go into on this video because it's gone on for a while already. So yeah, there's my sort of top 5 of Forbidden Planet, Star Wars, Alien, Blade Runner, District 9, and all honourable mentions of the Terminator and Ex Machina, which if you haven't seen, definitely check this out. Great film. Thanks for watching. Bye for now, and I will see you in the next video.